Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 11 of season 2 of the P.W.P sessions. That's the Poets for Purpose sessions. I am your host, Noelle Figueroa, aka the Anointed Pen. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. Tonight's, or I should say, excuse me, this afternoon's guest is another awesome poet that I've had the chance to encounter by the name of Porta Rock. And before we dive into the interview, I'm just going to give a brief introduction. So, as I mentioned, this is episode 11. And for those not already familiar with the podcast, the PWP Sessions, or the Poets with Purpose Sessions, is a podcast that I created where I interview new or established authors of poetry. And most recently, I started interviewing rappers or MCs. I feature a performance of their work along with an audience Q&A session at the end of the podcast. I am Noelle Figueroa, also known as the Poet and the Anointed Pen. I am a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the PWP Sessions. And today's guest is Porta Rock, and this is his bio. Born in the mean streets of Newark, New Jersey, also known as the Brick City, Yari, or Porta Rock Pares, found his passion for writing at a young age. He is a known writer, poet, and activist, using his talent to transmit lessons and messages of identity and social protest to the masses. He has been a speaker and performer at various colleges and universities in both Puerto Rico and New Jersey, including many schools throughout the city of Newark. In 2019, Yadi was recognized by the Newark Municipal Council as Puerto Rican Poet of the Year and received a Senate citation commending his dedication, commitment, and willingness to help others and his community. In 2018, he proudly published his first book of poetry titled From In Between the Bricks I Rise, Reflections from a Porta Rock. His poetry was also featured in the following anthology, No Tender Fences, an anthology of immigrant and first-generation American poetry. Yadi is currently finalizing his second book of poetry and writings titled Politrix y Cultura. Now, without further ado, I present Porta Rock. Good afternoon, bro. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being my guest. How you doing today?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Peace and blessings.
Excellent.
How's everything?
Everything's well, man. Thank you so much for being my guest, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I know it's going to be lit for sure, for sure.
Thank you, Noelle.
Let's get down to business, right? So I'm gonna start off with a question I ask all my guests. Who is Porta Rock? How do you define yourself or describe yourself?
So Porta Rock is a writer, poet, exciter, activist at times, rebel, father, educator, learner, teacher, romantic, husband, son, all that, and much, much more.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now take me back to the beginning. Like, when did you tap into poetry and realize that this was something that you felt that this was something that you can pursue?
So, funny thing is, I started writing at a very early age. I guess it was innate, it's something I was born with. I believe as young as possibly third grade, second grade, around that time, I was creating stories, mostly horror stories, like scary stories. I was I am big Stephen King fan. And I created these gory stories, zombie stories, and stories of terror that I would share with my classmates, and I would even win certificates because of these stories that I used to write. I guess it was my escape. It was my way to cope. Growing up in a single parent household, growing up with mommy. At that time I was the only child at home, so my imagination ran wild. I used to go to the library at a very young age and just pick up books and just, devour them. My mother used to read to me as well at a very young age. So I had this wild and creative imagination. I was given actually a typewriter while I was in third grade, so I could type up my stories. Now, it wasn't until 19, during that stage in my life, high school stage, I was lost, didn't know myself, searching for the identity, running with the wrong crowd, making bad decisions. Um, saw a lot of my friends lost to the street life, saw a lot of friends lost, period. Um, so I decided that I needed a change, with the help of my family, a guidance counselor that helped me out in Puerto Rico, heard my testimony, gave me an opportunity out there to go off and try out this college thing. So I went out there, lived with my aunt and uncle, who were like my grandparents. They were like grandparents to me. They actually raised my aunt, who is my mom's older sister, actually raised her when she was young. So I went and stayed there. And at that time, I met the counselor who actually gave me an opportunity to enroll in classes at the Interamericana of San Germán under probationary period, right? Because I came with with awful grades, no motivation for education.
Right.
But due to the talent that I had of writing stories, I've always kept with that. Even during my dark times, my crazy times, I always kept writing and stuff. And I shared it, with certain people. So I shared it with the counselor, who was like, listen, we're going to give you an opportunity. You got to demonstrate to us that you're actually serious about this, or else you're out. You could keep doing what you're doing, which isn't going to get you very far. So that first year, I demonstrated what I had, which was the potential, to stick it out in college, and that I was college material. I got the 4.0 straight A's that I never got in my life.
Wow.
And the rest was history. But it was there in college that I started coming into contact with many different people from different places. Brothers from Chicago, from Ohio, and it was this brother from Chicago, Leo, who introduced me to the works of Piri Tomas down these mean streets. And he was like, brother, you got to read this, and then you got to read that. And he started just, giving me different books. And I just works from Miguel Piñero, the New Yorican poetry movement. And then I started saying like, wow, these cats are like, they're wild. I like what they're saying. And, it's this love for cultura, identity, who you are. And, I really connected with that. And then I started going into creating these, I don't want to call it poetry, but these works, right, of thoughts. And I was just putting them together. And, what was coming out was this flow. So I started sharing it. I started attending tertulias around the west side of the island, since I was studying over there, Mayagüez area, Ponce area. And I started sharing these works, with different people who were like, wow, you need to keep doing this, and it was like, that right there was like my first try at something, I guess you want to call it poetry, verse, and from then on, it just lit a fire under me.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Now, I guess when you transition to poetry, like what were the first subjects that you wrote about when you really started getting into poetry?
So it was mainly focused on culture, raíces, roots, identity, who I was, the things I was basically learning about. You could see it in a lot of the writing, the influence of the different, I guess, authors, writers, revolutionaries, philosophers, throughout times, different pieces of literature. So yeah, it mainly dealt with that culture, roots, also the streets, living in an urban setting, the hood, the ghetto, the experiences of those that came out from there who didn't make it.
Right, that's what's up. That's what's up. And who or what would you give your credit to, as far as like helping you develop your talent as a writer? Like, were there certain books or certain people that helped you do that?
No, definitely, definitely. Like I mentioned before, the works of Miguel Piñero, Piri Tomás, Pedro Pietri, Julia de Burgos, Tato Laviera, Nikki Cruz, Run Nikki Run. I read a lot of biographies, biography of Malcolm X, the Frantz Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth, the Prince Machiavelli, Maya Angelou. Like I said, I devoured a lot of books once, and that right there cracked open my mind, and inspired me. It opened up my soul, my views on a lot of things. So yeah, Willie Perdomo, where nickel costs a dime. I remember reading that and listening to the audio when I was in college in the late 90s. And I was like, whoa, man, this dude right here really, I feel what he's talking about, not being part of any particular, feeling like you're not wanted by any particular group. And that was kind of like the case with many of the New Yorican writers and poets and authors. It was this, this feeling of passion for one's, ethnic background, island that many have seen or many have not seen, but you still have this love for it. And then being born in the diaspora here in the Americas, and not being welcome, not being wanted here. So like that was like a commonality, and that really inspired me as well.
Excellent, excellent. Now you mentioned some of the things that you talk about, right, which is very, 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 those are very varied topics and definitely topics that need to be discussed. But what would you say is your motivation to want to keep writing? Like, what is your reason for doing what you do?
So my motivation, I guess, is I would like to inspire others, possibly shake somebody up in the inside, like I was shaken up, motivated, probably shed some light. And so I work with young people. I'm also a school guidance counselor, so I use my work too with them. And just seeing how many of them can relate to things that I wrote shows like the power that I never knew I had, or the tool that I have, that can possibly help others in some way or shape or form.
All right, that's excellent, man, to know that you're having an impact, which brings me to my next question regarding your book. First of all, congratulations on your first book. What was your motivation for putting that book together? Like, what was that process like for you?
Woo. So it was a process indeed. It took a while, probably 5 to 6 months from the point that I actually connected with Juan Negron, editor or author, who looked over my work numerous times, sat with me, called me up. It was a process. This was something that I guess I really wanted to do, especially after having kids. Having my kids, that kind of like lit a fire under me as well. Like I wanted to leave something, like behind, like something that said I was here, a legacy. So that's part of my legacy, my writings, right? The process took a while since a lot of my work is in Spanglish, in Spanish.
Mhm.
So that the editor was getting back to me. He was like, "Are you sure you want this written this way or that way? Do you mean to write it like that?" So there was a lot of that. I wanted it in a specific way. If you get me, like there was an order to the madness. I wanted it to be like a tour, right? Like somebody taking a tour through my life, because most of the poems were pieces of me,
Right.
during different stages of my life. So I wanted it in a certain order, by subjects, by topics. So it was a creative process, very creative process.
Mhm. How long did it take you all together from the time you started putting the poems for it together until the time it was actually finished? How long did it take you all together?
I would say maybe over a year. Over a year. I would say, but from the point that I was working with the editor, 5 to 6 months. But altogether, like you said, from me sending my work to get copy written, to get all the other stuff done that this process entails, like I would say like a good year.
Right. And what was that feeling like for you when everything was finally finished? You sent it off to get printed and you got that delivery. You open up that box and you saw those shiny, saying glossy covers of your book, with your name on it. Right. What was that feeling like for you?
Oh man, I was blown away, man. I was blown away. It was one of the greatest moments in my life. I like it's one of those great. We all have these great moments, and that goes down as one of them. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. I felt accomplished. I felt like I actually completed something that I set out, right, to do. It was like a goal I had, and I made it. I did it. I felt even more inspired, right, to keep going. I was thinking, wow, what's next? What's next for me? Well, I have to do something. I have to do something else. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Do you feel there's certain subjects that you write about more than others, or do you feel like you just write whatever is on your mind and your heart to do?
So I think it depends. It depends. Sometimes I write about sometimes, the current state of things, current events, maybe something that really affects me, or something that I feel like I need to speak out against. For example, when our immigrant population was being attacked, right, recently, during with the laws that were set into place, and they were being treated inhumane. So I needed to write about that. I needed to come up with a poem or something, voicing my feelings, my emotions during that particular subject. Other times, it goes like something I may feel strongly about, that I feel like I need to pick up my pen and pick up a paper and just write. So yeah, basically, I go on what I'm feeling at times in the moment, on that emotion that I have, that I'm experiencing.
Right, right. Now, you mentioned activism in your bio. How much of a role does activism play in your poetry?
Um, I would say they most of the time they go hand in hand, um, because a lot of my poetry speaks about, you know, the injustices and you know, the hardships that not only Puerto Rican have gone through or are going through, but other people as well. So I think that is one of the forms, one of the ways that I have to actually be a participant, right? And to participate and to let my voice be heard. It is a way of activism, um, you know, a way to do battle. It is one of my tools to battle, you know, the injustices of the world.
Right, that's excellent, excellent. And let's unpack that for a little bit, right? Because you've heard the word representation thrown around in different circles, right? Representation means different things to different people, right? Um, in terms of yourself, when it comes to your writing and how you present your writing, how important is it for you to make sure that you're representing yourself in your totality? You know, whether it comes to you to being a Latino man or a Black man or just a man in general, whether it's talking about, you know, your religion, if it applies to you, you know, your culture, your education, your upbringing, you know, your environment, you know, all the things that make up who you are. How important is it to make sure that, you know, when you spit a piece or, you know, you're writing a poem or, you know, putting out books or whatever it is you're doing concerning your creativity, how important is it to you to make sure that you're feeling represented through your writing?
Oh, it is. Well, so when I write, you're getting 110% Porta Rock. You're getting a straight with no chaser, no filter. You're getting all of me, every single piece of me. You're getting my feelings, my emotions. Um, you know, what I say is what I feel at the time, and it is what I believe. It is surrounded by my beliefs and my feelings towards that particular subject that I am spitting about, that I am, you know, releasing whatever I'm releasing, you know, on that particular subject. You're getting all of me at once.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what's
So
up,
it
man.
is,
That's
it is
what's up.
very important, you know, that there's no, you know, I'm fully transparent, you know, no sugarcoating going on.
Right,
You're
right,
you're you're getting, you know, 110%, no filter, no chaser me.
right. And what has been the reception to your work? Because, you know, you mentioned all the stuff that you talk about. You know, you talk about, you know, the current events, the racism, and it's just not, you know, the outward racism. You know, in our culture there's racism amongst each other.
Oh
you know
yes,
because,
yes.
because reality, because I could speak on it because I'm Puerto Rican. I'm half Puerto Rican and I'm
Mm-hmm.
half Black.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the dynamics of that there's racism within our culture. You know, the light-skinned Puerto Ricans or the light-skinned Dominicans, you know, some of them act like they're better than the dark-skinned ones. You
Right.
know what I mean? You know, when it's the Dominicans or, you know, the Brazilians, you know, the Afro-Cubans, you know what I'm saying? We come in all shades just like Black people, but
That
there's
is correct.
there's racism amongst ourselves and division amongst ourselves. Like when you take your poetry and you address those issues like that, like what has been the response when you speak on those things that need to be talked about?
I'm happy you brought that up. So while in Puerto Rico, a lot of my poems, my poetry there that was written was inspired by my feelings, by what I saw, what I observed, how I was treated in Puerto Rico too. Being considered a Yankee, a New Yorican, not Puerto Rican enough, right? By my brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico. I saw how they also I saw their views on the Black Puerto Ricanos, on us, the ones living there and the ones from the States, you know, and I dropped a bomb on them. You know, I would drop these jewels on them through my writing. I have a poem titled Puerto Rican State of Mind, which talks about not being accepted, you know, due to the fact that I'm from the States. I'm a New Yorker. I'm considered a gringo, but I'm really not. And I'm spitting at them, letting them know I'm as Puerto Rican or more Puerto Rican than you are. You know, those are just brainwashed, colonial infested minds. You know,
Exactly.
so I'm here to set your mind free in order to save your soul in time. So I would drop these verses on them, and like you said, some reactions were like, oh my God, you know, they're flabbergasted. I would get like, ooh, and you know, the snicker and the hiss.
Right.
Diablo, de verdad, yeah, de verdad. You know, that's how I feel, and that's the truth of it. And I remember I'm good friends with a lot of artists, poets out there. There's an artist, Wilmer Colon. You gotta look up he's dope, fire. He's a painter and from out there, and he would call me to do. He loved my work. He would call me to do some pieces while he does it. You know, he did his painting and stuff. I would come up out of the audience and just start, you know, reciting some you know, Spanglish poetry for the people. And I remember some of the audience being angered, right? And I heard some of the oh, eso no es así. And no sabe de lo que habla. You know, he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, I don't agree with that. And I remember feeling a certain kind of way. And we met, he was like, no matter what reaction you get, whether good or bad, it's a reaction that you invoked. It was something that you stirred up. You hit a nerve. And that is what you're supposed to do, no matter good or bad. And that, you know, that stuck with me forever, right? And yeah, that's it. Doesn't matter, you know, what my work does, and if it speaks the truth and you don't like it, then hey, sorry. But I'm trying to also educate as well, educate our people, all people, right? So that's the point with a lot of my work, and that's what my hope is. No matter if it gets you angry, mad, uncomfortable, you know, as long as something stayed in there, in here, and makes you think later on.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And I'm glad that you said that, because Nina Simone, I believe she said that it is an artist's duty to reflect the times. And if you know that as a writer that you did your homework and what you're saying is based on facts, then like you said, you're provoking you're provoking the right reaction, because it's the whole point of us poets is to get people to react to what you're saying. So if they're mad, you can be like, okay, you mad. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to go do your homework for yourself and see what I'm saying? Or are you just going to stay mad and offended? You know what I'm saying? Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of what you speak on, some people are either in denial or they just don't want to deal with it, or they just want to gloss it over like it's superficial, you know. But when the truth of the matter is, the only difference between all of us is a boat stop. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand the dynamics of what slavery has done, to the point where we're all mixed. Even when it comes to the Spanish-speaking people, you know, Dominican Republic, you go to Brazil, you know, yes, Argentina, you know, Black people are everywhere, mixed in with the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans and the Cubans. You know, nobody is 100% anything. You know what I'm saying? We're all connected. And the issue I have, you know, within our own communities or communities of color in general, is that if we would just understand that we're more connected than divided, how powerful would we be if we would just come to that understanding and not give in to the stereotypes and the colonized mindsets and, you know, the lies and the stereotypes and all the superficial things that don't matter. How connected would we be if we would just come into the light and just really begin to have that understanding?
And that unity.
And really important. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? To have that unity. And what you're doing with your work is very profound and important because you're one of many voices speaking on these things. And it's very important, specifically when it comes to our communities. We need people with voices of reason calling out things as they are, and not just calling out things as they are, but okay, this is what it is, this is what it's been, what are the solutions? You know, you're presenting solutions at the same time. And sometimes calling the truth for what it is a solution because people have been believing lies for so long. You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree with you, brother. And I get, and that's something that certain people fear, right? We would be if there was unity within each and every one of our groups, we would be unstoppable. We would be an unstoppable force. And that has been the fear for centuries. That has been the fear. And, you know, unfortunately, they sprinkled their seed of ignorance throughout the times. And, you know, it's up to us to try and bring our people back, right? Try to bring our people back together and just, you know, come together as one so we could get on with this, right? And show what we are capable of. We are capable of so much.
Exactly. And that right there provides the perfect segue to the next segment, right? Because now it's time for Porta Rock to take the mic. So my brother, this is your time to show our audience, you know, about, you know, who you are as a writer. You know, you got space to share up to 5 poems. You don't have to do 5, but you got space to do 5, you know, to give our audience an idea of how you coming through with your writing. So at this time, the floor is yours.
Thank you, brother. So I always like to begin my shows with the first. This poem, "The Poet Is Here," was one of my first ones that I shared in Puerto Rico during the open mics. And it was quite a hit. So it goes a little something like this. The poet is here, the poet is here. So listen up and open up them ears, because the poet is here. And I am that poet. That ghetto fatness take it to anybody's face poet. That Porta Rock warrior who when a child was lost without an identity and now has found his place in society poet. Yes, I am that poet, that rice and beans eating Puerto Rican poet, that poet who can easily shake his ass to the sounds of the late great P.W.P beating on his timbales, as well as to some good old hip hop beats poet. Yes, I am that poet, that barrio bred, born in the gutter wild child who will always say loud and proud, yo soy boricua pa que tú lo sepas poet. Yes, I am that poet, that revolutionary poet whose words might even start a war poet. Yes, I am that poet whose body is often possessed with the spirits of Albizu, Che, and Malcolm X poet. Oh, damn, I am that poet who will fight for the cause and ignite the light in your mind poet. Yes, I am that poet whose body is often possessed with the spirits of Albizu, Che, and Malcolm X, as well as composed from the muses of the likes of Langston Hughes, Keats, and Miguel Piñero, all at the same time poet. Yes, I am that poet, that New Yorican poet. That's poem number 1. The next one is called "This Is Me." It is another identity poem. I share it with in a lot of schools. I usually have the students sing along with it. It was inspired by Dato Laviera and also inspired by the 1968 protest the sanitation strike in Memphis in 1968, and it goes when they were wearing the sign, I am man. So it's titled, This Is Me. I'm a man, not just any man, but a ghetto-bred Puerto Rican man. Some call me Porta Rock. For those who don't know, that's Ebonics for Puertoro, Puerto Riqueño, Boricua. And I rep for all of my people, black, brown, Habao, you name it. We are all part of this beautiful mix. So even if you may see me with my shirt and tie, don't mistake me for a fake, because I still represent for all of my gente, but in a different way today. I'm a man, not just any man, but a ghetto-bred Puerto Rican man. And even though I was born a couple thousand miles away, the blood that runs through my veins are composed of the same DNA. Coming from way back in the day, from the Arawaks and the Tainos, as well as the blood of our brothers and sisters from Mother Africa, with a touch from the Spaniards who conquered us. Everything that makes up a Puerto Rican runs through me the same. I'm a man, not just any man, but a ghetto-bred Puerto Rican man. And even though I hit a few hard places before coming into this world, since I was taken from La Isla and placed in the land of oppression and supposedly free, meant that I couldn't claim who I was supposed to be, a Puerto Rican, free as can be. So every time I would say I'm a man, not just any man, but a ghetto-bred Puerto Rican man, the crowd, I would have the crowd sing, we are a beautiful people. So that was This Is Me. The next one is titled 5 o'clock in the morning. So this was during the dark times, right? 5 o'clock in the morning, walking around the streets, getting cold at the feet, not knowing where one end meets. At 5 o'clock in the morning, this wild child is still rolling deep, looking for salvation, but instead always ending up in a tight situation. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the heart still beats from one last taste from the drug dealer that is still not asleep. As twilight starts to creep, the hookers get ready to go to sleep while their customers run home before their wives begin to weep. At 5 o'clock in the morning, bums and winos wrestle in a pile of heat. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm still thinking to myself, what am I still doing on these damn streets? This next poem, another identity poem, a new one. So yo soy, I am. Soy arroz junto con habichuela, el ritmo que separa la bomba y plena del mambo y hip hop que corre por mis venas. Yo soy, I am, Héctor Lavoe cantando de su pena a alegría, convirtiendo sus cuentos en poesía. Yo soy, I am, the young lords marching through back in the day, chanting despierta boricua, defiende lo tuyo, jíbaro sí, yankee no. Yo soy, I am, taíno, arawak, español, africano, todo lo que compone un boricua, porque la historia lo hizo así. I am, yo soy, Juan, Miguel, Milagros, Olga, Manuel, working, slaving, paying for the price of bound with my blood, sweat, and tears. Yo soy, I am, Agüebaná, Filiberto, Albizu, Lolita, Cancel, peleando por mi bandera y la libertad de nuestra gente. Yo soy, I am, that child of the Americas who was lost without an identity and now has found his place in society. Yo soy, I am, la semilla que fue sembrado en la casa del enemigo para cosechar la venganza y llevarle la batalla a ellos. Yo soy, I am, the stereotype, the classified, the discriminated, former, Goya eating, mira, mira, ¿qué pasa? Voice of the struggle. Yo soy, I am, hijo de padre y madre que dejaron su isla del encanto en búsqueda de algo y en vez cayeron en el país del espanto. Yo soy, I am, the W in way. Yo soy that poet who will fight for the cause and ignite the light in your mind. I'll give you una receta para obtener y combatir todo lo malo que nos rodea. I am, yo soy, un hijo de la diáspora, siempre representando a mi gente, aunque en la isla no nací, lo cargo aquí adentro, donde sea que me encuentren. Yo soy, I am. That dude who will sometimes say que chévere or move to the sounds of the salsa tan sabroso y caliente. Yo soy, I am, el hacha y machete de jíbaros que me visitan en mis sueños para recordarme que aún Puerto Rico necesita ser libre. I am, yo soy, that brick city, barrio bred, born in the gutter, wild child who will always say loud and proud, yo soy boricua, pa' que tú lo sepas. I am. Do I have time for one more, or was that my?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely drop one more. Definitely. One more, man, for sure.
All right. And I think, brother, you heard this one. I want to share it during the Patterson. I think I performed this one then. So the title of this is called Boricua con África en mi esquina. Yes, I am Boricua, a sofrito mix of cultures, culturas that represent a people whose blood comes from way back in the day, from the Arawaks and the Taínos to the kings and queens from Mother Africa, along with that of the murderous assassins known as the conquistadores. But even though I was born American, I was sure raised Boricua, where Africa mi esquina. I was taught that we come from a people whose history was born out of struggle and fight, and no matter the pain, suffering, and torture our people were made to endure, we are who we are. Just like the stars in the sky, we shine bright like no other. Our stories were pushed to the side as part of the master plan that was created by design so that we would eventually starve out and die, never knowing the who, what, when, where, and why. There is so much to us, and no matter how much they try, there is much that can't be denied. I am Boricua con África en mi esquina. Even though my complexion is either the Spaniards, my body and heart is made up of tortured, battered souls whose cries can be heard from the greater Antilles and South America down to Ghana and Nigeria, because I am Boricua con África en mi esquina. Hey, but Porta Rock, you as white as a ghost. What? You can pass for a blanquito. Why identify with a Boricua or Moreno? Because the land that my parents came from are the same ones that our ancestors worked and built. It is the earth that gold and sugar was stolen from, and the place where slaves and criollos revolted and stood up against the powers that be, which is why I say I am Boricua con África en mi esquina, because to say one is Boricua does not only mean that you love rice and beans, but that you love everything that makes up who you are, from the salsa tan sabroso y caliente that gives us flavor down to the bomba y plena, whose drums invokes the spirits of our brothers and sisters who died for the liberation of Borinquen. See, when I say I am Boricua with Africa en mi esquina, I can't mention the Young Lords without the Black Panthers, Don Albizu Campos without Malcolm X, Filiberto Herarios without Marcus Garvey, Lolita Lebron without mentioning Angela Davis and Asada Shakur. To be Boricua is more than just waving a flag up every second Sunday in June and screaming out, yo soy Boricua, pa' que tú lo sepas. It is to know your raíces, your roots, from Betances and the Grito de Lares, where free slaves along with Jíbaros fought side by side for the freedom of Puerto Rico, to the nationalist movement started by Don Albizu Campos to end colonialism on the island. Boricua con África en su esquina is to accept one another, whether blanquito, trigueño, moreno. It is not only to mix our rice and beans with the cornbread and collard greens, it is to stand together when another black or brown life is taken. It is to knock down the walls that have been built long ago to divide us in order to stop us. To be Boricua with Africa en mi esquina is to raise our fists in the air against injustice in its every form while screaming pa'lante. Or to be Boricua Where Africa mi esquina is to know the works of Piri Tomás, Julia de Burgos, Tato Laviera, Miguel Piñero, Pedro Pietri, Sandra Maria Esteves, and how beautiful it is to be Black and Puerto Riqueño in America really is. To be Boricua with Africa in su esquina is to know that Charlie Chase and Ruby D as the first Porta Rock MCs. To be Boricua with Africa mi esquina is to know that Yemaya is the mother of all Orishas who protect many of us. To be Boricua with Africa mi esquina is to celebrate one another's accomplishments like no other. It is to make our story and not tell his. To be Boricua with Africa mi esquina is to be a true Puerto Rican.
Yo, can we talk about how you just set the mic on fire right now? Like, can we talk about all the jewels and gems you just dropped in like every one of those pieces, man? I'm like, good God in Zion. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, that was the blazing poetics without question of Senor Porta Rock. Mijo, you came through, man.
Thank you.
I enjoy your poetry, man.
Thank you for having me, Noel. Thank you,
Yo,
brother.
your poetry speaks volumes, man. I'm
Thank
yo, man. I'm almost speechless because it was so powerful and poignant. You spoke on so many things, man. Thank you for coming through and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
You know what I mean? So we're gonna before we wrap up, we're gonna share my screen. We're gonna move to the next segment of this episode, and we're gonna do a little Q&A, right? So my first question in this portion is this: if you could collaborate with any poet, whether living or dead, who would it be and why?
Wow, there's so many. But the one I have right here on my shirt, the one and only Miguel Piñero. Yeah, I would love that. I love his work. I think he was I believe he was a creative force, super force. Wow. I mean, his work just anytime that I'm down and out or I need some strength, you know, I pick up this collection of work that I have, Miguel Piñero's The Outlaw Collective Works. And also I have another one around here, the Bodega Soul Dreams. Pick up one of these and just, you know, lose myself in his wild stories and creative and talented human being that he was. I mean, his writings are just, you know, awesome. They're fire. And, you know, that's, you know, you said living or dead, that would be somebody, you know, that I would have loved to watch and possibly collaborate with.
Yeah, that's what's up, man, for sure, for sure. It was always good to connect with a pioneer like that, because that one will certainly be epic, for sure, for sure. I see we have someone on the line, P.W.P. November 5th. I don't know if you just wanted to view the interview, but if you have a question or comment for Porta Rock, you can unmute yourself now and share your question or comment at this time. I guess they probably just wanted to view. That's okay too. I do. Whoever you are, thank you for watching. Your support is appreciated, no question. Thank you so much. Now, when all is said and done, when you take all of your work as a whole, like, what do you intend or hope to accomplish with your poetry?
When all the work is said and done?
Yeah, like it's like when you take all of your work into consideration, like what do you hope to accomplish with your poetry?
Oh, that, you know, that it sparks someone interest to learn more, to educate themselves, to seek out, you know, information on their own, just not take the jewels that I drop, but look into it further. Look up the people that I mentioned in my writings. Look up some of the, you know, some of the historic things that I throw in there. You know, read the history for yourselves. and then come up with your own thoughts, your own beliefs about that. You know, my thing is I just want to inspire, educate, motivate, teach as much as I can.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now, do you have anything coming up that you like to share with our audience? Like any new projects or any events that you like to announce?
So I'm looking for a home for my second book titled Politics y Cultura.
Mhm.
I've been slacking on that, but I gotta get up on that. And I really want to dive into the children's thing, like a children's book, possibly. I've been thinking about that. I know I gotta tone it down a little bit. So I really want to do something for the kids, the younger crowd, the high school. The
Right,
high school
right.
kids, they're good. They're good. They could listen to this. Also, maybe get back into like the writing stories, like the storytelling aspect of it. Like get back to writing actual stories. I get back to that too as well.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Do you have any performances coming up that you like to announce to our audience?
There's something coming up. I'm still waiting. I think on December 4th, actually. I was invited for an event, and I think we are celebrating Rescue Poetic on December 4th.
Yes, yes. Another awesome poet. She's
Yeah, I
amazing.
love her. Great hermana right there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a force to be reckoned with. She's awesome. So I will be there on December 4th. I believe it is. I'm looking for the info right now.
Mhm.
It's in Jersey City. It is at the Box Cafe in Jersey City, December 4th. Yep. So that is the next performance I have that I'll be sharing some of my work there, in celebration, of course, of fellow poet, right? Laurette from Jersey City, Rescue Poetics.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's what's up. And before we close out, for those that are not already familiar with you and connected to you, where can you be found on social media?
So I have an Instagram, Porter. I have it right here. Hold on. Porta Rock 17 on Instagram. You can send me an email at boriquawriter@yahoo.com. Boricua, BORIQUAWRITER @yahoo.com. They can go to my website, www.portarockwriter.com. So Porta Rock, PORTAROCKWRITER.com.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And for those that want a copy of your book, myself included, I'm grabbing my copy. Can we just go to your website as well and purchase the book from your website?
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm copying my copy, man. Gotta support, man.
Thank you, brother.
And thank you, man. So as we close out, man, I'm gonna do just one more thing because I find it very important to make sure I say thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank my guest, Porta Rock. Bro, blazing poetics, awesome content, crucial content, much needed content. Congratulations on your first book release, and I wish you all the best and much success in your future projects and endeavors. We must connect again soon, without question. We got to connect again. Great conversation, great poetry. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. And for those of you that wish to connect with Poets for Purpose and the PWP sessions, you can do so through the Facebook group, Poets for Purpose, on Twitter, @PoetsWPurpose, YouTube channel of the same name, and I'm on Clubhouse, @The Anointed Pen. Stay tuned for episode 12, featuring Tessa E. Matelia, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, on Saturday, November 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information about this podcast or my workshop, Poets with Purpose, you can call me at 646-372-6230 or email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. All of my logos and flyers are done by the awesome team at Eclipse Graphics. You can find them on Instagram @Eclipse Graphics NY. You can hit them up, check for samples of their work and contact them if you want any work done for yourself, for your own projects. And lastly, for those of you wishing to make a donation, you can do so through PayPal, Tap Media Man, Cash App, $Anointed Pen, or through Zelle utilizing my phone number. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap on episode 11. Porta Rock, muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Gracias a ti.
This episode will be uploaded to the Poets for Purpose YouTube channel within the next hour or so. So be on the lookout for that upload so you can have it to share on your social media channels. Thank you all so much for coming through. Thank you all so much for your support. You all have a good night and God bless. Thank you.